So what do you do when you're having an event or a group dinner and people say, can I bring a friend? And you don't want to be the dick. You don't be the rude guy who's like, no, you can't bring a friend, because you try to make it social. But at the same time, when they bring a friend, it makes the situation weird, awkward, changes the dynamic, and then like everybody is just kind of like, who is this extra person? So I actually had this happen last night. When I talk you through the story, talk about some lessons that I'm learning, and kind of like just dialogue everything as I'm experiencing it in real time. Last night, I invite my buddy out. He brings his girlfriend. I invite Darren out. I invite, there's another buddy comes with us, another guy who's a sales. There is a girl that I kind of sort of know. I'm pretty sure she's like a sugar baby. And then there's like, last but not least, 2 random girls that I don't know. Okay. And so the 2 random girls, she's like, one of them's like, hey, can I come along? I'm like, sure. She goes, can I bring a friend? I'm like, well, I don't really know your friend. It's kind of like an intimate environment. Probably wouldn't be the best situation. She's like, well, my friend will pay for herself. I said, all right, fine. Your friend's going to cover her food. So guess what happens? Of course, they come there and the friend doesn't have any money. The other girl has no money. And I end up paying the check for Wagyu or wasabi beef steak for 2.
And you Ubered them.
And I Ubered them. So it was a lose-lose. And to be honest, they shouldn't have been in that room. They didn't have like the quality of standard to be there. Like the way they presented themselves and their appearance and their like health obligations to themselves. Let's put it that way. So now I'm like, what the heck? What am I doing? What's going on? This is horrible. And I think there's some lessons that we can take from this experience and take them moving forward, because I am doing more events here in the future. 2020 in hindsight, they come, you can't afford the Uber, can't afford the food, can't afford the food for the other person, can't afford the Uber back. In all reality, they shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have even been there. So the rule is now to kind of consider is like, if they can't afford the Uber to be at the place, they should not be at the place. A lot of celebrities and athletes do this too. They're like, we're going to go to like Art Basel in Miami. We're going to go to Coachella. But if you can't afford the plane ticket to be there, the $100 ticket on Spirit Airlines or JetBlue, if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be there. Same thing. If I'm going to provide for an event, I'm going to be like the guy who's hosting. I'm going to be the VIP guy. I'm going to put the money into it. I'm going to invest into it. If you can't afford the taxi or take at least the bus, the public transportation to be there, then you probably shouldn't be there.
So we called it the low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It could be anything, but we want you to invest in one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Boom. The minimum barrier to entry. We actually have a note here. The minimum barrier to entry. To meet quality people, you must have a barrier of entry. So it could be like, hey, I'm going to put on this great thing, but you got to at least pay for your bus ticket. You got to at least get your Uber. You got to at least, like, maybe it's a potluck kind of dinner. Like, maybe we're going to have an amazing barbecue on a patio of a penthouse, the rooftop. We're going to have a magician there. We're going to have, like, a person who blows fire. But you just got to, like, bring some desserts. Like, bring something, invest something into it. Because if they just come into it with no investment and they don't even do the bare minimum, it's really shitty, because like last night, the girls ended up being there and they literally were not even making conversation with anybody. They were just sitting there with their mugging, mean faces, not making conversation, eating Wagyu steak. Like, what is that? They don't even come with their best personality. So it's this weird thing where it's like you give them something free, that's amazing. They don't invest into it and they bring their worst personality to it.
They don't value it.
They feel like they can get away with it.
No, they don't value it at all, and especially if something's given completely free. 9 times out of 10 they won't value it. They won't show, like, they actually didn't even show their best side. Those people didn't even converse with us, didn't even try. So yeah, like, that was a complete loss.
Yes.
And not a good value exchange whatsoever.
What was that quote from the Bible you thought of that's similar to this?
So the Bible verse says, where your heart is, your treasure is also. So when you put money into something, it's like your heart will follow it. You feel obligated to be a part of it. So these chicks literally had 0 to offer. And when we paid... let's wait for this.
Sí. Gracias.
Nice food. So they got their Ubers paid, they got their food paid, and they weren't even a good time. So it was terrible. So this low barrier to entry, I feel, is very important, because they have some sort of investment in it, but they should, in the hindsight, see the bigger value overall. But if those chicks don't even see it, then they shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking? It's like this is a weird mind trick where, like, I'm thinking, if I give them a good time, something that I wish somebody did for me, they would be more appreciative and they would be their best selves, and they would be like, oh, thank you so much, and they would, like, really just show out with their best personality. But most people actually don't do that when you give them something for free. But in my mind, I'm like, I would do this, but I'm a high quality person. That's why I think like that. That's where I got to where I am, where I could host a party and pay for everything. But they're not the people that would host a party and pay for everything, so they can't even comprehend the mentality of like, I should bring my best personality, even though I'm not contributing anything.
Yeah, reciprocate in one way or the other. Like I was at a party the other day that the time that you met up with us, these chicks, you know, they were looking at us. They seemed like they wanted to be part of the party, but like they had their own thing going on. They had their own bottle service. Eventually, they even offered us some drinks, and we took them. And eventually, the guys ended up buying them another bottle. But they were so super appreciative about it. They were so happy, and it was overall a good time. So yeah, when you have some value exchange, then you know it's a good time.
Yeah, I remember that thing. That was a good night. Some value exchange has to be there. Reminds me of another quote from the Bible. I had 2 quotes. One of them was like, "Do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample on you and tear you into pieces." So basically, if you do nice things for good people, nice things for people who don't appreciate it, not only do they not appreciate it, but they also get mad at you. Like I bet they didn't go home and write me from last night. They didn't go home and say, "Oh, we're really sorry about what happened." And you know, they're just like probably like, "Fuck that guy. He didn't pay for our Uber back."
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show like their intention. They already knew. I feel like they had a game plan beforehand. Yeah, and they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure they did. Or at least they were aware of their situation.
Yeah,
they in that situation you would think, "Oh, don't go to your house." Like as guys, we're not like, leave your house with no money, no taxi, no bus fare to a location you don't know, people you don't know. Like we just don't do that. We're like, how do I handle my stuff? But some people come out with this intention, this like very high level intention. They're gonna not high level, this like entitled intention that they can like figure it out. They'll be taken care of, some way somehow. Here's another good quote. It is, "No good deed goes unpunished." So you think you're doing a good deed by like hosting a lot of people, but not necessarily. But somebody's gonna get mad at you. Somebody's gonna be really resentful of you. I remember one time I brought this girl to a Halloween party. It was an amazing one, and it was a big mansion in the hills. Me and my buddies got it. We did a mastermind in the day, talking about business. At night, there was like a firework person. There was a DJ. I brought this girl to this party. I paid for her driver. And then I remember like a week later, she was talking trash about me. Like I never do anything for her. And I'm like, what? Whoa. I'm like, what do you mean I don't do anything for you? It's like people don't keep track of like the good things that you do for them. They don't keep a record of it in their mind, or even like the memories you create with them. And so like when it comes time to like reciprocate value, you can't teach them. They have to be reciprocating value from the beginning, almost like the first initial communication before they even come out. Because if they don't, I feel like you can't teach them how to do it. It's not something you can install into somebody once their programming is kind of there. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
I mean, where do you think that comes from? Do you think it comes from like their childhood and I think we talked about the scarce mindset that they have. I feel like when certain girls are at a certain socioeconomic level, I think the lower you are at the bottom barrel, then when you have a chance like a dinner, you'll take advantage of it and overindulge than what you necessarily need.
Yeah, it is right, a social economic thing. I remember Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. I know they're divorced now, but I remember this one video where Kanye said, "I can marry Kim because she's the only one who doesn't want something from me." And I was like, that kind of makes sense. I mean, like they're both kind of like from the same economic level, but they're not from the same social economic background. That's why it failed, I think, eventually, right? Like they both loved attention, but Kanye was like hustle, and I gotta like fight the Jews, and I gotta like prove myself. And she says like, "Listen, we got it good. Let's just be controversial. Let's just ride this money train." And he's like, "I want to be an icon in society and culture," you know. So I think that eventually the social part kind of broke them apart, but economically they were on the same level. And I guess the takeaway from it is, if we are inviting people to parties, if the riffraff come, they will sink the ship.
Yep. Yeah, you said it. I don't even have to add on to that.
No, I
ruin the vibe. It honestly just like ruins the vibe.
I added the ship part on there because like I thought of it like a rat hovering aboard. You're like, I'm helping the rats to swim, but then they sink the ship.
But you gotta remember, that's a reflection on you because you're the one hosting, right? And then you bring a riffraff, and you're like, okay, why are these people here if they don't necessarily deserve it? So I guess we talked about the screening process. Yeah, screening process.
Oh, before we get to the screening process, I wanted to even mention all the people at the table knew it as well. So like there was like 3 levels of people at the table. There was like one level of people that like had like careers and backgrounds. Like my buddy's girl, she makes like she's a marine biologist, and like my other buddies are like very intelligent, world travel. That was one level at the table. The medium level at the table was like a girl that I was with. It's kind of like a sugar baby, I'm assuming. Not with me, but in her past, judging by her Instagram photos. And she's like very pretty and attractive. You know, she's smart, intelligent, but it's like not the same level of education or cultural background or experience or, you know, working, let's say. And then there was like this other level of the other two girls that came to the table, and they were like, I don't know, bro. They were from somewhere. They didn't know how to appropriately dress. They weren't dressed properly.
Yeah,
like,
they didn't have the etiquette. They actually dressed like pretty trashy. And I want to add that I also found the correlation between the class and like even the way that they speak English. The better you speak English, like the higher class you are. And then you got the medium level, which is like, yeah, I'll speak some words, I can understand you, but I won't speak deeply to you. But then there's the ones that just completely don't speak any English whatsoever. So I kind of just realized that now.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Yeah, that's true. It's the thing that applies. Now, of course, you could have somebody who like travels internationally on other people's dimes and speaks a lot of English, but there's a certain amount of people that have educated themselves at least a little bit, and they're gonna know how to appropriately move in a situation. You know, it's like he called it. To get back to what you were saying before, you called it like a survivalist mentality. We were talking about this on the way over here. Survivalist mentality. It's like, I'm here, I'm in this room, there's steak, there's fancy people, there's a lot of opportunity. I don't know when this is ever going to happen again. I got to just get everything that I can right now. Like a scarcity mentality. Like, I got to get it all in right now. Get all the food, get all the money, get everything, get all the favors now, because I'm never going to see these people again. And I probably couldn't even keep this opportunity if I really wanted to. That's kind of what ends up happening when you invite the riffraff into the events, and you think like you're doing a good thing, or I think I'm doing a good thing, because I don't know, I'm like born in like a Christian household, and I'm like, what would Jesus would feed the poor, or like, you know, he like hang out with prostitutes on the street. It's just like, you know, so I'm like, I'm gonna do that too. And yeah, it every time ends up like stabbing me in the back. I end up paying either double, I pay double, or I get a negative reputation from it, or I end up like the one that's like, I don't know, just having a bad night from it. It never works out. And I think the people who I've invited that are higher quality, I think they probably remember that as well as like a moment of the night. I don't want them to remember the riffraff as a moment of the night, because that would make them less likely to come out in the future again.
Yeah, well, because you said it was an intimate setting, like, you know, don't give up on feeding the poor. Like, I admire you for saying that you want to be like Jesus. I want to be like Jesus, and we're doing
the peasants.
I'd hate to say that, but it was more so because it was more on an intimate level. There has to be a barrier. So Jesus had his 12 disciples, and he poured his whole heart and soul into these people, helped them grow and helped them become like the disciples that they were, that spread Christianity and all that stuff. That's their core group. But there has to be different levels of relationships.
Right, you're right. Even Judas was kind of like, he shouldn't have been there. He kind of was, and we knew we had to let him go, and he was like, yeah, you're right.
Well, he let himself go too. So
he let himself go. He called himself out for this being a riffraff. Exactly. They're like, we're gonna eat this food. He's like, I'm gonna go sneak out in the back and get some silver. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't about that life. He wasn't about that life. You're right. But I like that idea of the core 12. Like you gotta have your core group, and maybe it is 12. Maybe 12 is the perfect number. It could be 5, but that's not fulfilling. 12. Now you have like a core group. 15, 20 is like a party. I don't want a party. I want like a good group, a core group. So you got to have a 12.
But it was intentional, because he actually literally called these people out. In this case, they wanted to be a part of it. And you're like, I don't know if you should be a part of it. But they're like, oh, okay, whatever. But you have to be intentional with your core group of people.
I like that. On that note, we should end this video. So yeah, can I bring a friend? The answer is no. Usually no. And if you do bring a friend, you can't say the friend pays for themselves, because there's going to be a magical situation where neither of them have money. So you just got to like set it up. The stuff inside, but yeah.
The bill comes. She goes like this. Didn't even say a word, just like, no, and you're like, oh, I gotta pay.
And it's worse is everybody was waiting, like the waiter was waiting, the manager was waiting, all my friends were waiting. They shut off the music, the whole restaurant was closing down, and she's just like, I'm like, damn it! Like now I'm in a situation where I gotta pay so everybody can go home. Like the wait staff wants to go home, my friends want to leave, and now like who's got to pay for these girls that came here that he didn't really want?
Staff members were out of uniform. That's so funny.
Like putting the chairs on top of the tables, like it's closing time. Like you don't got to go home, but you can't be here. You riff-raffed, and I was like, all right, damn it, all right, okay. It was hilarious. It was so hilarious. Yeah, like don't invite the friend. Like if it is anywhere, it's got to be a coffee house, like maybe a coffee place. At the most, you can bring a friend to a coffee. You can't bring a friend to a restaurant. In reality, my mind going 2020 on this, in hindsight, I'm thinking if I have an event, I just gotta expect to pay for everybody. Just expect that like you host everybody that's there, And if they're there, make sure they're quality people so you don't mind them being there. And they've already been screened to be quality people. No surprises. And having an event this Sunday, actually, I'm going to put on a coffee brewing experience with like a bunch of people that I think are good now that I've screened harder. And it's going to be like coffee and a rum. And it's going to be theatrical. And it's going to be what I love to do. It's not going to be at a club late at night. And I think this is going to go a lot better. I'll make a video of it as well, kind of to show how that experience plays out. All this is me like relearning things. I already know this stuff, but I have to like relearn it in this new environment and the way I'm trying to do it, and create like a new system and a new formula and framework to like share with people that are watching it as I develop it. So it's pretty cool. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, we got more videos about this exact subject of social life, social circles up in the corner here, over here. Take a look, enjoy it, and subscribe. Share this video with a friend if you're brand new to it. As always, keep in touch and don't be a stranger. Cheers.